A very warm welcome to a brand new episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. I'm Ritwika Gupta. Now, have you as an entrepreneur thought about integrating AI into your business? AI, that is artificial intelligence, can streamline operations, optimize resource allocation, and boost productivity, giving you a competitive edge in the market. It can also help you understand your customers better and meet evolving demands. Today, AI plays a big role in business and beyond, and the Indian government also recently approved over 10 crore rupees for the India AI mission set to be invested over the next 5 years. This investment aims to drive various initiatives like building AI computing capacity, establishing innovation centers, and supporting AI startups. India's focus on technology, especially AI, reflects its ambition to drive progress and prosperity in the digital age. And tonight on the show, I'll be chatting with Irina Ghose, Managing Director, Microsoft India, on Microsoft's global dominance and how MSMEs can leverage technology like artificial intelligence to gain global success. Listen in. Irina, thank you so much for being on Leaders of Tomorrow. It's a pleasure having you today.
Totally an honor and a privilege to be here on this platform with you, Ritwika.
So, Irina, we have entered our 12th season, and the theme for this season is powering entrepreneurs for the global stage. With the recent headlines of Microsoft, surpassing the $3 trillion market value, it's a milestone for sure. So my first question to you actually is to really understand Microsoft's strategy, to really solidify its position on the global market. What would you have to say?
I would really say the first things is that we are really privileged to be a part of India's journey in the last 3 decades that we've been here. I've been in Microsoft for a little around 22 years now. And I must say that the last 2 years have been pivotal in the way things have evolved, and I wouldn't swap it for anything else. Not to say that the last 2 decades were equally impactful and satisfying. But let me just say that things that we've been seeing evolving, from getting India to the internet era with Windows, getting India to Azure and cloud era, creating a very secure, connected environment for collaboration on hybrid cloud, and now in the era of digital and AI transformation, it's really been an exciting journey. But more than what technology can enable, we truly want to be a co-pilot in India's era of growth. What we really mean by that is that India is kind of innovating in various shapes and forms in various paths.
Sure.
Whether it be from healthcare to education to anything that you talk about. We now have more than 200 plus customers, and we are really humbled by partnering along with them in their transformation journey in the era of generative AI. And what we really try to do is make it very inclusive. Like, India is a country which speaks many languages. Project Bhasha, when we innovated around that in 1998, was towards ensuring that we bridge the last mile with multi-language ways of ensuring technology reaches. Now the Azure AI Translator is available in 20 out of 22 languages, which really caters to about 98% of what people speak here. So just to summarize, we would really want to be an integral part and be a co-pilot in India's digital transformation journey.
Absolutely, and we will touch on the AI bit, in a bit. But what I actually want to also understand is that, just building up on my previous question, how then can MSMEs, because our show is also, watched by a lot of medium-sized businesses, independent entrepreneurs, how can they take, specific measures, to really flourish and expand in international markets? What advice would you have for them?
Thanks for asking that. I would say the pace of change and innovation is really fast. And I would say that every company now needs to be an AI company with an AI-first mindset. And let me bring across certain statistics here to make it real. We very recently did a study with IDC. And what we really found is that companies who are investing in generative AI, for every $1 of investment, they're getting about $3.50 back. The other thing, which is always a dilemma for the investment, is, will it be fast enough for me to see an idea to a fruition, and how quickly will I get the ROI? On these two, we really found that companies who are investing are taking less than 12 months to bring across an idea to a fruition, and it's taking just about 14 months to get an ROI of that investment, because that is bringing a lot of confidence of where do I spend the dollars. Now, from the time that we brought across this entire generative AI momentum, in the last 2 quarters, we've done about 75 plus AI boardroom series, and we're literally sitting across with the executive boardrooms, trying to see what are those really large, hairy, real problems that people are trying to solve for, and how generative AI can make that happen with a lot of agility, nimbleness, and accuracy. The 2 things that MSMEs really at times look at as challenges and opportunities is, one, trying to ensure that they get access to global scale, which our marketplace solutions are helping do in a very inclusive manner. So you're able to reach across to more than 140 countries once you have your solution available on the marketplace. Second, you can simplify your sales. And third, you can have access to the enterprise customers in the click of putting that solution across in the marketplace. And the other part is having an access to the technology and the expertise, which we are able to bring across to them in a very, very inclusive manner. So I would just summarize by saying that for MSMEs, the time is of essence, and things should happen now to stay ahead of the curve and jump and take across any technology bets. Really.
Fantastic. Just zooming out a bit, looking at the macro picture, and you have mentioned it definitely, speaking about generative AI, but how pivotal is the role of technology going to be in propelling businesses, on the global stage in terms of gaining a competitive advantage, not just in terms of, generative AI, but digitization, as a whole, especially, for Indian businesses?
India truly is one of the most exciting markets to be at this point of time. And why do I say that? It's because there's a lot of optimism, innovation, entrepreneurship, and a lot driven by technology at scale. Poised to be a digital $1 trillion economy with about 17 to 18 billion coming across from AI. There's a lot of pivotal things which are happening, and that too happening towards creating and impacting population scale problems. Whether you talk about UPI, whether you talk about Aadhaar, the digital public good infrastructure, India is literally creating a template to be taken across worldwide in a very, very inclusive manner. I'll tell you some fun facts. Now think about the coffee that you and I drink. There are about 53,000 Starbucks outlets globally.
Sure.
That's the total number of customers that we have now on Azure OpenAI. All of us click pictures every day. Now we have about 5 million people creating images with DALL-E, which is the total number of pictures people create on a daily basis. So that's the way creativity is happening. Now, when you translate that to technology, 85% of the Fortune 500 customers are using AI in some form or the other on Microsoft platform. Microsoft 365, which is a solution for enhancing personal productivity led by generative AI, is used by more than 60% of the Fortune 500 organization. And GitHub Copilot, which is another solution for developer productivity, and I say that because India is a land of developers and we are the highest contributors to GitHub. 90% of the Fortune 100 organizations are using that to enhance productivity. So on one side, there's innovation and a tremendous amount of it happening for enhancing personal productivity. And on the other vector, we are really trying to work across with organizations for their customers in which they make their lives enriched, simpler, and much better.
Nice. Just speaking of generative AI, so do you truly believe that this is the game-changing technology of our time today?
We are living in an era in which we are seeing a monumental shift happening. If you think about it, mobile phones took about 16 years, internet took about 7 years, Facebook about 4.5 years. And this is what ChatGPT did in just 3 months. So the rate of transformation and diffusion have just been exponential. Why it has happened? It's because of the ability of you and I to converse using natural language, and not us having to learn what computers have to do, but computers now learning how we have to converse along with them. So this convergence has literally led from the erstwhile promise of having information everywhere to now having expertise at every fingertips. Now, AI is not something really new. You would have grown hearing about it for the last 10 years odd or more. If you go to Netflix and browse, there's a recommendation which comes for you. If you're doing any kind of a shopping, the next big or the allied things come across to you as pop-ups, right? What has now happened is from that era of autopilot, we are now in a zone of co-pilot. What co-pilot does is, I would be having an ally or a buddy or a coach, which is literally learning who is Irina, and accordingly coaching me day in and day out, how can I be a better version of myself every day? And my co-pilot will frankly be very different from your co-pilot. And that's the promise which this technology brings across in the future as we see tomorrow.
That's very interesting the way you put it across. It's time for a quick break here. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Tell me, how does Microsoft ensure the ethical adoption of AI? Because while technology has a lot of benefits, there are certain challenges as well. So how do you address some of these negative impacts and just to sort of prioritize societal well-being?
I would say for us, technology is as core and as important as having the responsibility of delivering that technology.
Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12, in conversation tonight with Irina Ghose, Managing Director, Microsoft India. I'm also keen to understand, how then can smaller enterprises, and even large enterprises for that matter, use AI, in their businesses, in their business operations, in terms of unlocking productivity, and having more efficient way of, their, production process, workflow. What would you have to say about that?
The pace at which AI is changing will really bring in a lot of changes in which MSMEs can really leverage the power for their internal efficiencies, what they're doing for customers, and towards productivity gains as well. In a recently conducted study that we did with LinkedIn, we found that about 90% of MSMEs are actually using some form of AI for their own efficiencies. Now, putting that a little into context, what are they using it for? They are using it for things which are related to the shop floor production, things which are related to safety, wastage reduction, and things a lot related to manual automated work, which can be made a lot more efficient. A couple of examples in this regard. Indegene is actually using Microsoft 365 for their entire collaboration across the organization, which is helping them enhance their productivity. Okay. We're also having another organization, Needle.ai, which is using AI to propel the solutions that they're using for data analysis, which when they're taking across to their customers is helping bring across efficiencies 40% and above. Now, another thing is that there are startups which are thinking about how they can bring across efficiencies and scale. Towards that, one of the interventions that we have is via Founders Hub, which is helping startups with an access to technology, expertise, the architecture which is required, and the ecosystem which is needed for them. Started in about March 2022. We now have about 8,000 startups along with Founders Hub, and that's a large ecosystem that we have in India outside the US. So I would say that our mission remains to be very inclusively working with MSMEs and startups in the formative years in which they're taking this journey, so that they have an ally all through.
Fantastic. Irina, tell me, how does Microsoft ensure the ethical adoption of AI? Because while technology has a lot of benefits, there are certain challenges as well. So how do you address some of these negative impacts and just to sort of prioritize societal well-being?
I would say for us, technology is as core and as important as having the responsibility of delivering that technology. We do it in a few ways. First is how we kind of create the technology by the design principles of what we infuse during the inception phase itself. And this goes across from the way that we created responsible principles for AI, which were hinged around fairness, inclusiveness, transparency, reliability, accountability. these foundational blocks, we've kind of taken it across towards everything that we are building. So the first one was by design, but it doesn't end there. Because now, when everybody's playing on a global canvas, you have to have everybody included, the government, the enterprises, the citizens, in a very, very inclusive manner. What we've done is we've worked along with the government and also with the government of India in releasing our AI blueprint, which actually has a few intrinsic parameters. First, it builds across on what the government has built. Second, it creates the larger regulatory framework on what it should be going forward. And the third part is towards ensuring that everything that you're doing, the information, the awareness, there's a large amount of proliferation. So we've got a program, Advantage India, in which we are actually training about 4 lakh students, reaching out to remote areas so that they really know what is the essence and how can they be a part of this in a very inclusive manner. Just to summarize, the 3 things. First is creating things in the design phase. Second, how do you create an ecosystem in which there's a 2-way information flow which is happening at all points of time. And third, increasing the awareness so that people are aware of what is happening in the world for the future.
Right, so 2023 was the year of artificial intelligence. What's next? What's next that's going to really disrupt the tech industry?
I really feel we are at a cusp and still at the beginning. I wouldn't call it day one, but there's a lot more to go. And the way things are evolving, it's not just AI, it's the large language models themselves. So what started as LLMs or the large language models is now coming across to SLMs or the small language models. What that really brings across is doing it with lesser set of resources, lesser set of data sets, but the efficiencies and the gains it brings to consumers more affordable, and the ability to provide the same set of results at a much more economic price brings across a lot more inclusivity, scale, large last mile reach. Microsoft Research, for that matter, delivered 2 of these, Phi and Orca, and these are providing unprecedented results, some of which are really equaling what was being done by the LLMs. So that's one. The second, a lot of the things that you're seeing in AI in today's world is to do with text, but there's a lot more which is to do with visual, audio. And these will bring across things that when you see, hear, feel, you will have a prompt for the world, basically. And the last one, I would say that there's one vector in which you're seeing AI, quantum computing. There's a lot of exciting things which are happening as well. And just to quote Satya, he recently said that whatever we're thinking about the next 250 years in the areas of science, in the areas of chemistry and material science, we really want to do it in 25 years. Those are magical times ahead of us.
So finally, as we are wrapping up this interview, tell me, as a leader in the industry, in the tech industry, what advice would you have for businesses, entrepreneurs who want to make a mark in this sector?
Absolutely. The first thing I would say is time is of essence. So everybody should really think of taking the plunge and taking the leap and doing something now. Think big, think disruptional, and think of doing something today. It's also about the fact that when you think about generative AI, the floor is low and the ceiling is as high as your ambition can take it to be. The second thing I would say is I personally believe in having this learner's mindset. You literally need to be at the edge to think about what's coming in for the future. The disruptions which will happen, for that, are you planning for it today? Having the learner's edge, you could be a little paranoid at all points of time, but the thrills that you gain by plunging yourself to learn, the tech intensity is immensely high and gratifying. And the last thing, I would say, your organization is all as good as the people within it. Digital transformation starts with the transformation of your biggest assets, the people. Think about hiring the right talent, think about reskilling the talent, and always ensuring that people are driving everything that you're thinking about the future.
Well, that was a fantastic conversation, Irina. I think our viewers will have a lot to take away. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
With that, it's a wrap on this episode of IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 12. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.